Lord, help me to endure this trial and let others see you walking with me through it. Because of your presence in my life, change their hearts, both towards me and towards you. You'd be amazed what God can do. You'd be amazed. I've lived through some of it. I've seen some of it. I've watched God literally change people that were haters of everything I stood for. I watched him do it. I've seen what God can do. If we will hold to our confidence in him in our time of trial and recognize that there might be a purpose bigger than what we see. God is not looking today for perfection in you. He is the only perfection in your life. He is the only enduring strength. Everything is in him, through him, and because of him. He's really just looking for an honest heart. My brother, my sister, win your battles now. Win your private battles now. Part of the preparation is learning to win the victory and to understand the purpose of the trial right where we are today. We gain experience with God, not on the mountaintop, but quite often in the valley. On the mountaintop, we rejoice in God, but we don't necessarily need his strength as much as we do when we're down in the valley. You know, sometimes, my brothers, my sisters, we can find ourselves living in a generation where people are not going to read their Bibles and they're not necessarily going to listen initially to what you have to say. God, in his mercy, for their sakes, not necessarily for ours, but for their sakes, God in his mercy will let us be put into a place where they will see a strength in us that they don't have. They will see in us an ability to go through trials that they know they could not endure in themselves. So that Christ, who lives inside of us, as the Bible says we are the temple of the Holy Spirit, might become known. Now, where there's certain times, there are seasons where the gospel can be preached audibly and ought to be in all seasons for sure. But there are certain times where people are not open to listen, but they will see Christ in you. When you have to go, and I have to go through circumstances that they have no inner strength to go through, and they come to the realization that there's a divine enablement inside of your life. So it's so important to win those personal victories now, those personal trials, struggles that you know that you're in. They're not public, but you know that you're in this trial.
The Bible said that it was when the lion roared that the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson. It wasn't until the challenge came that the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. So sometimes it's the attack that draws the greatness out of you. Sometimes it's not till the lion roars. Sometimes it's not till all hell breaks loose. Sometimes it's not till you're under the gun. Sometimes it's not until everybody around you faints and you realize, Lord, I'm the only one standing. Come on, devil, you don't want none of this right here today. Sometimes it is the trouble that you are trying to avoid that causes the greatness to be drawn out of you. It's the deep that calls unto the deep. Some people have it drawn out of them by exposure. They see God do it in somebody else's life, and so they begin to realize, as God has done it in somebody else's life, it causes them to realize that they have greatness in them as well. Some people have it drawn out by challenges. They don't even know that they're great until they get into trouble, until they get in the challenge. So if you're feeling small on the inside, that does not mean that you don't have a great call on your life. It's just you got to get in the right place where it is drawn out of you. And when God draws it out of you, you will realize that greater is what's on the inside than what is even on the outside.
But if you really do have a changed life, if you really do have the living Christ inside your earthen body, if you really have been given power by his Holy Spirit, I want to see it. You'd be surprised who's watching you. You'd be surprised who's listening to you. You'd be surprised what king is looking into your pit. You'd be surprised who's looking to see that fourth man in the fire, or that lion who doesn't have the power to devour you. You'd be surprised who's watching and whose heart can be turned. You have to learn. I have to learn to let Christ be my strength when my neighbors are slandering me. Don't do back to them what they do to you. Guard your speech, guard your conduct. Where you walk among those that are fight it, bite your tongue till it bleeds if you have to. But don't speak back to them the way they speak to you. That when they speak against you as evildoers, they may, by your good works, which they observe, which they see, in other words, glorify God in the day of visitation. You are visited daily by this inner strength of God, which gives you the power not to respond in kind. That you can respond with kindness no matter what they say, and keep doing good, and keep bringing groceries to their apartment if you have to, and put to silence their conversation as they see that you have an inner strength that they don't have. It's so hard not to respond. It's so hard not to go into the lunchroom and tear down like everybody else is. Especially if those over you are unreasonable, screamers and accusers. Especially as Christians, they will test you and push you and prod you. And quite often it's just to see what's in you. You say God lives in you. I want to see that. See, the unsaved want an evidence. Your testimony sometimes is not good enough. Show me. Show me. You talk about strength. You talk about freedom. You talk about power. Well, I want to see it now. Show me. Show me the power that's in your life. And so I'm going to push you. That's what I'm speaking now for the ungodly boss or coworkers in your workplace. I'm going to push you. I'm going to prod you. I'm going to check out and see what you're really made of. God is looking today at you. You who want to do right. You want to do right. And his ears are open to your prayers. He's not looking for perfect people to just add a little extra layer of strength. He's looking for honest people to say, I know this is right. I know that I should not be slandering my neighbors as they slander me. I know that I should be doing everything I do as unto the Lord, even among my bosses and my coworkers. I know in my marriage and in my home that I should be able to be quiet and have this inner confidence in God. I know I should be able to reach out in church and have an endurance for people to just rub me the wrong way, and a willingness to build and not be among those who tear down. But oh God, I can't. You see, the Lord's not looking for perfect people. He's looking for people who want to do right. Who want to do right. And he says, his ears are open to your prayers. His ears are open. His eyes are on you today. I want you to know that. No matter how deep your struggle is today, his eyes are on you. All he requires is an honest heart. The man, the woman, the young person that says, God, this is in your word. This is right. This is my trial at the present time. Would you help me to see your purpose in it? And would you help me to acknowledge your presence in it? And somehow through this trial, people are not looking for perfection. They're looking for the reality of God in my life and through my life. So Lord, lift me up and let them see God in me. Let them see God, not me, not my human effort, but a divine presence in my life. Just as the king looked in and saw the fourth man in the fire, let the Son of God be in my trial. Let the Son of God be the one who's seen. Let it be that you can leave today and say, I came to church and God sent a messenger and has shut the mouths of those things that should devour my heart, take away my joy, destroy my testimony. God has shut the mouths of the lions. It's so difficult, but this is a trial. It's a trial that some of you are in right now. You're fighting for your home. You're fighting for your marriage. You're fighting for the soul of your spouse. And ultimately, you're fighting for your children. You're fighting for the family unit, which is the greatest type of Christ in his church on the earth. It's a battle worth fighting. But if we're going to fight it, we have to fight it God's way, not our way. Not rendering evil for evil, or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, blessing, knowing that you were called to do this, that you might inherit a blessing. And the blessing, of course, that God promises is his strength, his presence, his provision. See, we're not called to fight against each other. We're called to fight for each other. And it can be so easy to just throw something back in somebody's face. Maybe they've spoken to us a little bit harshly. But God says, no, we're not fighting against each other. And some of our deepest trials can be found right in the house of God. We can get to the point where we just say, I want to worship God. I want nothing to do with this church. So everybody just leave me alone, out of my face, out of my space. Don't even talk to me. I'm going to pile it in. I'm going to pile it out of church. I just don't have time for the hassle. But that's not what we're called to do. We are called to win our battles with our neighbors, with our bosses, with our spouses, and in the church of Jesus Christ. We are called to win our battles here and win them now.
Because God says, look at how you can get tossed all around, go up and down, forwards and backwards, and you still come out okay. Like the Hebrew boys. How scary was that? Let's throw you boys in a fire. I mean, this was not figurative. This was literal. Okay? Let's take you 3 boys that have done nothing wrong but just love and serve God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Didn't eat meat or anything like that. They were eating vegetables and they got in trouble. And put them in the pit. And then, let's turn it up 7 times hotter. You think these boys panicked? You think that they were screaming and yelling? No, they just began to lift their hands and they began to worship God. And Nebuchadnezzar looks down there and says, I thought we only put 3 in there. Why is there a 4th guy walking around there? And when they came out of their battle, they didn't smell like smoke. They didn't look like they had been through anything. He's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. And if we would embrace this journey, there's no matter how long I've got to go through it, God, what you got on the other side of this? I just love surprises, God. And when we get weak, we can call on him and he will answer. But I want to tell you this, and then I'm going to close. God does not respond to complaining. And God is saying, in this time, for everyone, it is time to fix your eyes on what is important. But no eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor has entered into the heart of man the things that God has prepared for you. And this sickness or this finance or whatever it is that you're going through, your kids are going crazy, whatever it is, it was already written in the pages of your book, and God has already made a way out for you, because he says there's a door, and it is a great door, and it's open to you, but